Hi, Alex. Thank you for being here with us. I was wondering if you could tell our viewers a little bit more about, what you did in your service, what you've been doing until now, and what you're doing today.
Yeah, sure. So right now, uh, actually, before that, I have been in Sayeret Matkal. I was there as an officer, sniper officer, for almost a decade. And right now, I'm a motivation speaker and also helping people to overcome their fears. So this is what I do right now, and it was a pleasure.
So, can you tell us a little bit more? Everyone knows Sayeret Matkal is one of the hardest units, if not the hardest unit to get into in the Israeli military. Can you tell us a little bit more? About how you got ready for the rigorous selection process and the training and all of that.
Yeah, cool. So when people ask me that, so I think it's begin first of all with your beliefs. I was raised not in some rich place. I came from some place in Israel that there's no. It's not a city. I didn't was meeting some people that were in these forces, special forces. For me, it was something special in my place to want to go to these units and also to be able to also do that.
You're saying in your environs, there was no one. It in the culture, it wasn't
Yeah.
ingrained to go to these kinds of units.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
you kind of pioneered that.
yeah, so I remember when I started to understand that I have to go to the army in Israel. So I decided, okay, so if I need to go to the army, so I want to get to the best place that I can to go, and to kind of I want to grow to my full potential, and to also serve the country and to meet good people, good friends, and have a service that I feel that I really enjoyed this service, and I did what I want. So first of all, you need to believe that you're able to do that. Yeah. So because today people kind of they have a kind of limit beliefs that if you're not white, if you're not that black, if you're not this, if you're not that, so you can't get to this unit. So if you from the start bottom thinking like that, so you have this wall that you built in front of you. So you're not going to train hard if you don't believe that you're going to get there, right? But I believe truly that I can do that, but I know that I only will get there if I will train properly. So then I started to train, and my strategy was to kind of go to Google and write what the selection day look like, what they're doing there, which practices they doing there, how they test you. And then I started to see what was the test is, and I said I want to practice exactly how this is. So if there's sprints, if there are sand beach trainings, so I will train exactly as much as I can like that. And also in these trainings we have a lot of competition there. So it's a must that you will have competition in your practices. So at the beginning I didn't have the competition. I just ran alone, and then I found some coach. It's also something important. He didn't was in the special forces, but he did the army, and he was in a good physical shape. Yeah, so he knew how to guide me and how to train me to the places and how to push me to get over my limits. And then my friends from my area saw that I'm training seriously. They got very attached to that. So they also raised their standards because their beliefs start to change that, oh, he's really going to do that. It's not kidding about it. He's not only talking about it, he's really going to do something.
So you're saying, in doing that passively, you actually made everyone around you within your village where you grew up. You made everyone want to do that also.
Yes, true.
Okay.
And then after they came to the training, I had a great competition there with them. So I remember the training. We trained 6 days a week. It was a hard training. It's also running and also physical training, and we just were killing ourselves. Yeah, it was a tough time, and I think because of that, this preparation, this practice, I think I kind of understood how to behave with myself when I have tough moments physically, because if you never had a physical struggle or challenge, so you don't know how to speak to yourself in your mind, kind of, people that maybe some people that didn't train and they come to some challenge like that, so they will tell in their head, "Oh, stop! I can't anymore. Stop!" And I started to change this pattern. This is thought pattern, like, okay, one more step, only one step at a time. 1, 2, 3, start to count. This was my own techniques that helped me to just, I was saying to myself in my head, just close your eyes and fly. And that's it. And my heart was kind of almost getting out of my chest, but I still kept going and kept doing it. And I trained myself that even if it's hard and even if it's challenging, I'm still going to push. I'm still going to get to the finish line. It don't matter. Even if I will be the last, I will finish. And this mindset, I think, it's something that prepared me very well and built in me this confidence that I am ready to every challenge that will be. It's don't matter if it will be hard as I trained or even more hard. I know myself that I will be able to push forward and continue even if I will be the last. Kind of.
So you're saying not only do you need to have the belief that you're gonna get where you're aiming to go, you also need that competition to drive you further than your normal boundaries where you would push yourself. And then add to that, you said you also built basically a training regimen around what you knew that those tryouts would look like, basically.
True.
So you did all the exercises based on what the day would look like, specialize in that, so you're the best that there is when that day comes for those specific things.
Yeah, you got it right. And also, now that you spoke, there's one point that came to my brain right now, that some people, they want to get to these special forces, but they play maybe soccer or they maybe not play, maybe they boxing or doing MMA. And they think that if I'm doing great MMA or I'm a good soccer player, so I'll be ready because I'm fit. Maybe I'm in a good shape. That's not going to help you. This is a different game. Yeah, you need to prepare for this conditioning. If you're going to run and play some music in your AirPods and kind of run for the fun, it's not what you're going to experience in these places. So you're not training yourself in the way that will prepare you the most effectively to the challenge that you're going to face.
So it's a good point. I remember that from the tryouts. You have, like you said, you have those soccer players. They're great at running. They have amazing stamina, but then in a lot of the other sectors, they're lacking. And then it's either willpower that pushes you through, but if they don't have that willpower and they think they're just in shape, they have the wrong kind of they're in the wrong kind of conditioning for these kinds of tryouts, yes. Right? So you went through the tryouts, you got to the unit. Throughout your training, what were some of those boundaries? What were some of those hardships that you went through, and how did you overcome them?
So for me, it was the navigation training. This was a one tough one for me because
that's a tough one, yeah.
I never in my life kind of learned to navigate or something like that.
Sure.
I never did that, so it was a very fresh and new thing for me. And to learn this new skill in this environment where you also have competition with the other team guys, kind of.
Can you for the viewers, because when we say navigation, obviously in the idea of navigation, it's not, let's look at the map and find where we're going. There's a lot more. Can you talk a little bit more about what the navigational, course involves? Because it's quite.
That's a good point. So you kind of you have to prepare. You have maybe 6 hours, maybe 12 hours. It's changed, depends on the mission. Mm-hmm. But your mission is to get from point A to point Z, let's say, like that.
Yep.
And you have 6 hours to learn the route, and you need to remember it only in your head, and you can't pull out the map or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then you're going out all the night just by yourself, and you need to get there. Mm-hmm. And if you're not doing that right, so you just go in until the morning.
Yeah.
And then someone will come pick up you, or maybe you will just walk a lot of miles just to get to the place.
Yeah.
So it sucks. Yeah. So for me, I was the guy that at the beginning of the training, I was walking a lot until the morning. So sometimes it was fun. Most of the time it wasn't so fun.
So you found your way. It just took you a lot longer than, those guys that grew up with hiking trips and knew exactly where to go.
Yeah. So for me it was very challenging. I think kind of physically it was challenging, but not so much. My body was hurt, but I don't think that was the great challenge. The great challenge was the mentally challenge that I will come the last to the bus and I will see all other people there and maybe they are waiting for me maybe 2 hours. So that feels like fuck, I'm the last here.
Yeah.
It's never will happen again. And
It's not a good feeling.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling. And I always try to learn how to become better. And it took time for me. Only maybe at the last time of the kind of selection year, I really improved myself in that area, and I started to do it much better. So it was a good progress for me to myself. And maybe one more point is to even kind of I didn't was the best in that, but I was very good in other things. So I think to other people that listen to us, and maybe they are in special forces or maybe they want to be in special forces. So don't be afraid that if you're not good in one thing, that everything will crash and you can't finish. The main point is to every time look what you can improve in yourself and how to become better. This is the point.
What I take away from this is also the fact that, you were a little, it wasn't great for you to be the last to arrive at the bus, but instead of letting it get you down, you actually used it as motivation to never be last again and be first on everything else.
Yes, that's true. And also, I just remember.
Yeah, your anecdote, yeah.
Just remember my point. So the point is it's very hard to not compare yourself to others in these situations.
Of course.
But you just have to find a way to understand that this is your game and you need to compare yourself to yourself yesterday.
Sure.
And when I started to do that, it was much more fine for me, even if I was maybe the last in the bus. So I didn't was so hard on myself. I just was, all right, what I'm going to improve next time, all right, let's move on,
So you're saying from the mindset of, it's okay to not be the best at, for example, navigation, but I should see improvement within myself and not compare myself to someone, who grew up hiking, for example, and they know maps by heart and all of that.
Because it's not fair. It's not fair for you, kind of,
Because I know we have, in every unit you have, it's not only special forces, right? Everywhere you have, those people that grew up in rural areas and they know maps by heart and they only have to take a look 5 seconds to look at the map and they're already guiding everyone everywhere, So it's when you compare yourself to them, obviously, it's very hard to get to that level. But if you grow within yourself, that's the big takeaway, right?
Yeah.
So you told us you were a sniper in Sayeret Matkal. What are some of the tough psychological aspects of that, and the psychological game of being a sniper in a unit like that?
I think it's be patient. I'm a patient person, so for me it was okay. But if you don't patient, it will be hard for you because there's a lot of training when you just need to lay or sit and do the same thing over and over and over again.
Yep.
And you just shoot one bullet in maybe 3 hours and then you need to summarize what happened.
Right.
Kind of what was your thoughts before that? How did you calculate all this, kind of calculation? And then how did you felt when you shot? How did you pull the trigger? And all these little details that you need to be very precise and really very self-aware of this situation. So for me, it was fine at the beginning, kind of to get this all the things together. So it took more time for all the guys, not only me.
Yeah.
But then when you have it kind of perfectly, so you can start to do it faster and faster and faster. So you start to think less because it's become more kind of automatic. You're still thinking, but it's not taking so much time like at the beginning, So for me, I think it was just fine. I didn't have some psychological, I don't know, how did you call that? Psychological what?
Mindset, yeah.
Mindset. I didn't have something tough without it. It came for me very originally. Because I just loved weapons and to touch and to feel.
Sure. So basically, what you're saying is what's unique about those tier 1 special forces is that you actually simulate every mission. You don't just wait for the consequences to happen mid-mission. You actually prepare for the eventualities, and you actually note down, this happened, that happened, and see how you can prepare for those. Similarly, what happens if, for example, we look at units like Sayeret 13 or Navy SEALs in the US, that they have, for example, a kill house, and they'll run a scenario like 20, 30, 50 times as long as needed to get perfectly ready for whatever the mission specifications are, right?
Yeah.
And, we talked about you being a sniper, and we know, eventually you became a sniper commander. So how does that change, the dynamic? You're not the person behind the rifle anymore. You're actually, I wouldn't say babysitting, but, you have to make sure that, the guys behind the rifle, the spotters, all the guys in security, everyone, is staying fully alert throughout however much time you're in the field. How does that dynamic work for you? What are some of the, mindset changes you had to go through?
Yeah, so the mindset is the same mindset, but just the responsibility is just bigger because you also need to go to meetings with other commanders
Sure.
and to be more in details at the planning and make some decisions. I can hear what my team want to say to me about our plan, but at the end I will decide, or I will go and show it to the other commanders that they are top of me. And also to get some logistic stuff and to management and all this stuff. So it's more than just kind of be behind the rifle.
Of course.
And the tactical stuff, it also depends on the mission, because
Right.
we can have some mission that I can also operate as a sniper, or I will have a mission that I can operate as a kind of spotter, and it just depends. And sometimes maybe I will not go. I only be at home, kind of at the radio.
And, in the field, do you have any, input, or is it, you're all just sitting there waiting for the target and everyone's quiet and there's nothing happening? Or is there something active that you need to know to keep them alert, to keep them on their feet?
Kind of the team.
Okay.
You're just
Yeah, the
asking
team,
kind
as
of
a team,
how
yeah.
what we do to stay alert in this time.
Sure. And you as an officer specifically, as the inspirational force, I'll call
Oh.
it.
So sometimes we also have kind of circle of sleep. So, kind
Sure.
of someone can sleep and the others need to be alert.
Yeah.
And we just practice to do that. So, so we just prepare properly and we do what necessarily. And if someone is kind of going to sleep, so
So you have multiple qualified teams, and one team can just, take over the rifle for another team, or...
yeah.
Okay. So, being a tier 1 sniper is, of course, vastly different from being an infantry sniper or regular special forces.
True.
What are some of the skills and mindsets required, to operate as a tier 1 sniper, as opposed to, infantry and all of those? What makes a tier 1 sniper special or different?
Yeah, I got it. So I think, like, in every unit, you have some missions.
Sure.
For most of the time, for most of the snipers, the basic skills, they are the same.
Yeah.
So the question is, who is practiced better? Because who is kind of in a much higher level, in much higher level in these basic skills?
Sure.
And you only can improve these basic skills with enough practice.
Yep.
So I think the difference between this unit and the level of the snipers is the practice that they're doing.
Yeah.
Because if I practice maybe 100 times and you practice 10 times, so the chances they're much higher that I'm going to be shooting better than you.
Right.
So it sounds simple, but it's just
Sure.
it is
So
like
you're
that.
saying there's no, special formula or special training that goes into it. It's just practice more on those basic skills. Be the best that you can be within those basic skills. Not much beyond that from a technical perspective.
Yeah, we have the basics, but every unit also have some special missions, and for these special missions, so maybe we will need to learn new gun, maybe we will need to learn some new skill, far distances, I don't know. So it also depends on the mission, but if you have the basics kind of settling good, so then you can prepare yourself also to kind of expand
Sure.
to other areas in that space.
Right. So I know from, obviously you said from a regular shooting experience, it's very similar to regular snipers with the exception of how trained you are. But I'm sure from the point of view, of camouflage assets that you use and special camouflage techniques, all of those, I'm sure there's something unique that you guys are doing, right?
I just can't talk about it.
So we went over all of this. Can you share a little bit about, the techniques that you use to get over peak stress that you have in all kinds of operational situations?
Nothing comes to my mind, I think it's just because all the years that I practiced also in the unit, so I think the unit prepares you very good to be able to handle difficult situations with high stress. And when you become much more kind of independent in the unit, and you have your own thing, and you kind of you don't have someone in top of you that's telling you what to do. So I think in that area you need to find your own balance, and there's also kind of the basic stuffs, good sleep, good rest. It's also with sleep,
Always more
to
important,
eat properly. It's kind of the basic stuff, but they're also important because you can't just run without a sleep all the days and not eat and all this stuff.
So you're saying stress tolerance is something that you get better in over time. It's something that you build.
Yeah, I feel like that.
So it's not, so you're saying as opposed to being personality driven, you're actually saying it's something that you build throughout your time in the unit and training.
Yes, I think maybe you kind of have some personal, I don't know how they call it, maybe something genetic from your parents, kind of your capacity for
Very
stress.
resistant, right?
But I think also you have this package that you have been given in your birth, and now you can choose what to do with that. You can expand it, and I feel like I can change that and I can improve that because what the situation will invite from me, the qualities that I need to be able to bring to the table.
Yeah.
So if I need to survive or if I want to accomplish this mission, so I think I will find the power in myself and the discipline and I will find how to manage the stress, because if not, so I will not be here.
You'll not be able to make the mission.
Yeah.
And were there ever any situations where there was a situation where stress got the better of you or someone else, where it messes with the plan, messes with the mission?
Yeah, of course. More in the training, not in the real mission and operations, but in the training, yeah, of course. We have some issues with other guys in the team. When I say do it that way, he doing it that way, and then and then all the missions collapse. But I think it's a good experience to experience in the training, because then you understand that, all right, we need to...
It's better for it to happen in training than on the mission.
We just need to understand how to operate better. And also, when we have some missions, so we prepare enough time, and maybe a couple of times, these models that we spoke about. So I think also in that model, so we learn each other in the team and how to behave and how we can improve, because we all have the same mission and we want the same result. So if we don't handle together and we see that it will bring damage to the mission or damage to other teams, so we need to figure this out.
So you're saying when push comes to shove, at the end of the day, when the mission comes around, there's no arguing, there's no things like that. Everyone knows what they have to do. They know how to handle their own stress, and everything
in the end, when it's the time you come, kind of to do the thing, so everyone's supposed to know, and most of the time they know what to do and how to do that and how to handle the stress. And if they disagree with something, so they had to tell that before the mission, not right now. And if it's happening right now, so I think it's also important. It just now jumps to my mind that if in the training there's something doesn't go the way we planned. This is what always happen, even in the operations, in the reality.
Right.
So if in the training you didn't know how to handle this situation, this variety, so I think you will not be able to also handle that in the future, in the real thing.
Right.
So I think it's also good for the training to understand this stress and this balance, and you want to do it like that, and he wants to do it other way, and you now in the middle of the night needs to kind of make some decision and maybe argue, and then you just figure out how to do that, and maybe you speak about it tomorrow.
Right.
And you just know if it will happen in the mission, so we know how to do that. Because it can happen. Everything can mess up and we don't know what will happen. But I think the training is the best thing to make me and the other guys in the team to prepare us to be able to manage the stress also in the mission that we will
Yep.
kind of,
I think that's a very healthy attitude to take, you know, instead of hiding your weaknesses or hiding your shortcomings, you actually attack them head on and see what everyone is lacking or what someone is weak on, and make sure to deal with those issues pre-mission instead of having to deal with that, you know.
Yes, because you don't have other way. Just imagine that you go into some other place, real mission, real operation. You just, if something is go wrong, then there's some big consequences to that. So
You can't take that.
yeah, it's not
too
like
high stakes to
yeah,
risk it.
we just argue for something. All right, see you tomorrow. Bye bye. No, it can be something that will
That makes
maybe
or
affect
breaks the mission.
all our country.
Sure.
And lives of people that I love. So
Sure.
you just must to be able to handle it.
Yeah. Tell me, throughout your service as a sniper officer, maybe even before, were there any significant, you know, gear adjustments or gear setups that you did that you can tell us about that were specific to you?
I think it will be hard to explain kind of in the specifics, you know, kind of where is that and where is this. But for snipers, we always wanted something just will fit our needs.
Sure.
So we always try to test new things. Maybe it's bags that you can kind of put your gun in the back, and it will be much more comfortable. So we always was testing with this gear, but it's definitely that if you have a better gear that will fit your needs, so I can perform better. It's much more comfortable and much more fast. You know, kind of use your tools. So definitely, it's. We had some maybe changes in the vest, like something specific that comes to my mind that we tested all the time. There was the time where we need to lay, and then you need to kind of lay down and to look in your gun and your scope.
Yep.
And when you have the magazines here, so and you need to breathe, so it's kind of
It's not comfortable,
it's gonna fuck you up. So you need to understand what you do with that. So sometimes we try to kind of pull it aside, and sometimes we just kind of can rip all the things off you and just put it beside you. But I think there's still much more to develop in this area, especially for snipers.
Yeah.
I didn't felt like we had something. Wow, this is amazing. This is so kind of. It is so comfortable. I don't think this is in this place right now.
You're saying there's still a ways to go with gear development to make sure that for snipers who need their magazines and they need to lay prone. Even not just sniper, even riflemen.
Yeah.
You lay down on your magazines. It's not the
Yeah,
most
I think it's
comfortable
also
long-term
it
situation to
always
stay.
kind of you have a room to improve in every area. So I think it's always good to think and to have this mindset. All right, how I can improve this.
I think that's one of the not only in the operator world, but also in the tactical industry for clothing and gear and hardware. I think the second the company stops innovating and stops building improvements on its products, meaning the second the company says, this is the perfect product and it's perfect and doesn't need any change, this is when you need to start worrying because, there's no perfect product out there.
There's no
Everything
perfect.
can always have improvements, and I'm sure you can attest to that.
No perfect product, no perfect people, and not perfect abilities. So you can always change that and to improve. Yeah.
Can you share any experiences, where high quality gear really made a difference in an operation?
There's not something specific that come to my mind, but I think it's kind of going back to the point that I said that if you have some mission, so we want to prep your equipment, that it will be the most comfortable to serve this mission. So I think that we are always trying to reinvent ourselves and trying to think out of the box and how we can do that equipment much more comfortable and just much better.
So you're saying it's not necessarily about having the newest equipment or having a different equipment. It's about making the equipment work for you in the best way that it can serve you.
Yeah, that's precise.
Can you share any specific parts of your service that you feel have had a profound impact on your life, or that really changed something in your life?
I will tell generally,
Mm-hmm.
not a specific moment, because I think there's just all my serving there. I think it's changed me a lot.
Right. Throughout,
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah, a different person. One thing that's come to my mind, that I was much more closed person, very quiet,
Okay.
not zero leadership skills. Maybe I was a leader, but a quiet, kind
Sure.
of leading with my quietness. And I think
So you didn't have leadership skills.
yeah, so I think through all this journey, so I developed a lot of skills, like how to take something from my mind and to make it real, the science of achievement. Some guys call it like that, kind of how to achieve goals, how to plan, how to speak to other people, how to how to make place for my emotions also, and how to work with them. This is also something important, because maybe it sounds kind of what you speaking about emotions, but you're a soldier, you're a fighter, you're a warrior.
Of course.
But there's always element for your emotions, and if you will kind of push them aside, it will affect your results and how you behave. So we also learned how to address that, and how to address conversation with the people, and also if it's not comfortable conversation and you need to be honest and tell the truth to your team. Maybe it's doing something that it's not making good for others.
Sure.
So you need to learn how to communicate and speak in this team about the bad stuff and the good stuff, because I think this is the mindset, kind of we always telling the truth, we are honest, and we're looking for ways how we can improve ourselves and the team, so we can complete our missions in the best side ever.
I think that really builds upon, what you said earlier. I think it's a real witness to, you said earlier that, you saw your weaknesses, you identified your weaknesses, and you made sure to improve them. I think here this is a real testament to that, the fact that you became an officer eventually, which requires leadership skills.
Yeah.
You say you came into it with zero leadership skills, or even maybe the opposite, even worse. And you built upon that and really, got those leadership skills required to become an officer. I think that speaks volumes regarding your building yourself up to those skill sets.
Yeah, true. And also now, as you speak, I just thinking about that. That's all this journey when the training and the unit pushes you to something that's challenge you.
Sure.
And sometimes I just thought to myself, oh my God, how are we going to do that?
Right.
And then I do that. And then
And you're
again,
like, oh, I can't
and
believe
again,
I did that.
and
Right.
again, and again. And when you just doing it again and again and again, so I improve myself, that I'm able to do everything that I want. This is my belief. Like, if I choose to do something, I know I can get it, but I know it will have a price.
Sure.
It's not kind of magic. I know I will have to work to get that, but I truly believe that I can do that. I will find a way. I will find a teacher. I will find a mentor. If this road blocks, so I will try this way. If this block, I will try this way. So it's kind of this mindset that I will always improve. I will look for some solution, and I will find it. So I think this is also something very strong that I learned from the unit, that this change in my beliefs and what I'm capable of, and what human capable of. If you truly believe that.
I think you've touched upon a pretty interesting point here. Anyone who knows anything about it, you know that Israel's called a startup nation, and you actually have a ton of people from the special forces community that end up starting startups. And one of the reasons why Israel has so many and they get so successful is because you have exactly these type of people like yourself that don't give up. They have a project, they have a baby, and they're going to go with it all the way. They don't give up until it's $1 billion business, And of course, you have some that fail, but I think that speaks volumes to that. I think it's a similar mindset where if you can't do it in A, you'll do it B or C, and you'll find a way to make it work no matter what.
Yes, that's true.
So, what would you say and I know it's a difficult question to answer, in a unit like Sayeret Matkal? What are the kind of characteristics that you think either someone needs, or that you see within the unit among the people there that you identify?
So the first one is trust.
Okay.
What I mean by that is that if someone saying something, so this is the truth.
Sure.
even if it's bad for him or for others, just to say the truth.
Yeah.
The second one is the skill of improvement.
Okay.
What I mean by that is that if you're doing something, so after that you summarize and you think what I can improve in that. It can be also something practical, and it can be also something in your behavior.
Sure.
The third one, I will say, it will be independence. The guys in the unit, they are very independent because they get some mission and they're responsible to do that. Nobody will nobody will sit on them and check them that they're doing that. It's their responsibility to do that.
It's part of the trust, right?
Yeah,
Where
it's part of the trust.
You trust someone else to, when the mission comes, they're ready to do what they have to do, and they didn't just waste their time doing other things.
Yeah, and if something not going right, so people will come to him to understand what's happened. So
you need to take that responsibility.
Yeah, they need to take that responsibility.
You have to be truthful, and you have to face it head on, whatever it is, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah. And also I think it's creativity, because if you have responsibility and nobody tells you they are not giving you responsibility and also giving you a manual book how to do that. They just give you responsibility and then the mission can change. So what the person needs to do right now for the mission, it can change from time to time. So it needs to be creative and to make some solution and propose some solutions that they can be new to the place and to the unit. So I think the creativity part is also very important. And the fifth thing, I think it's communication skills in the team.
Sure.
And to be able to communicate with people, to work with people. I think it's important to just stay in the unit and be there. So I truly feel this is the top 5, I think, that I see for most of the guys. Maybe, it's going like that for some guys, but I think there's a basic standard that from here and above you're in, and I see that in most of the guys that I see.
I think that's a general point. I think it's interesting, especially the fifth point that you raised, the communication. I think it's something. Of course, in Tier 1 units, it's a lot more important because everyone has an independent role and they really need to commit to that role and be able to, talk about it if something needs to be brought up. I think in general, if you compare the Israeli army to armies around the world, a lot of people say there's like a lot less discipline. And, only in Israel can a soldier go to their officer and argue about things. Abroad, if the officer said A, it's A. There's no argument.
Yeah.
But in Israel, they won't look at it bad, in a bad light. If you come up to an officer and you're like, okay, you know what, I think there's a mistake here, or this should be done instead of that. They might tell you, get out of here, I don't care.
Yeah.
But they'll never be like, oh no, you don't get an opinion because you're just a lowly soldier. No one cares. There is room for communication. I think that's something it builds soldiers that can, in a lot of militaries, I think if the leadership gets killed off, so to speak, it's a chicken with its head cut off. Whereas in the IDF, you'll have normal soldiers that will start taking leadership, that will start taking responsibility, and start thinking for themselves. They won't just wait for someone higher up to send a new commander over. They'll just keep going. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's true. And now that you speak right now, I think about it. That's in our unit. There's a place to ask why we do the things that we do.
Sure.
And if you don't have a good answer for that, so maybe we will not do that.
Right.
Or maybe we will keep asking, so why we do that? Why we do that? And I think this mindset and the place to ask these questions, it kind of opens the door for new possibilities, because maybe this way is not the best way to do that.
It builds efficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think it also puts the commander in a place that he really needs to be able to communicate the reasons why we do the things, and I think it's a different place than just say go do that and that's it.
It's the military. This is what it is. No,
yeah,
you actually need to.
Yeah. Also, the guys from your team, maybe when they're young, they just saying okay, all right, I do that, because they know that if they will not do what you said, so he can pull you off from the team.
Right.
Because it's a selection right now. But after we grown up, so he can't do that, and
Sure.
we just need these guys to work together. And if we will not understand why we do that, and we will not accept that, so will be some conflicts in the team.
So in the unit, after you're done with the training, once you're in the unit, in the squad, wherever you are in a team, even the officer needs to, warrant everything they do. There's not just stuff you do, because the military you have to do. No, he actually has to explain why he's doing this, why this is the most efficient course of action, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, kind of, it's not 100%. I think that there's some places that he can say at the end, this is how we do that, and that's it.
Right.
There's no place for question, and we will do that because
Sure.
we are soldiers. But I think if we compare our unit to other units, I think there's just much more place to speak about these things,
Sure.
to ask this question, and it will look normal. It's not something kind of out of nowhere to ask why we do that.
Sure. And out of all this seriousness, within all the seriousness, within all the operations and all of the, combat situations, whatever it is, we all have those funny anecdotes, things like that we remember from the military service. Do you have any specific moments that you care to share, that you can share, I would say?
Oh, let me think about it. Some funny moments. I think it's a lot of funny moments. They're just so. This is just kind of small moments,
Sure,
kind of just make you happy. So it can be just some guy speaking on the radio and speaking about his sandwich, and it's just funny,
Sure. In the context.
Yeah, and
Because
it's
you say now to someone, they're like, what's wrong with you?
yeah,
laughing about
and
the
also
sandwich.
at the navigation, it's just something that came to my mind, that we had to crawl under a bridge, and there was kind of a big pipe
Sure.
for water, but it was at the summer, so there was no water, so you need to crawl
Through the sewage pipe.
beneath, yeah. And it was at night, and I crawled there, and I just crawling, and I started to smell something dead.
Yeah.
And I just keep crawling because I want to go to the other side. And then I kind of I was with my clothes kind of up for
Sleeves
here.
rolled up.
Yeah, sleeves roll up. And then I just crawling, and then I touching something. I feel a fur,
Oof.
and then I kind of all right. I keep going, and then I touched also. I just felt something there was kind of strange, and then I passed away, and I just kind of crossed to the other side of the bridge,
Yeah.
and then I looked at my kind of how do you say that
Elbow.
elbow,
Yeah.
and I saw here kind of a fur of a cat,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of blood. So I thought, oh, I just kind of crawled on some
Over
dead cat.
somebody, yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of a funny story, and I think that's it.
Before we finish this interview, is there anything specific that you'd like to say to the viewers, maybe to young people that want to draft to these kinds of units?
Yeah, I think the first thing that's very important to say to you is that you need to believe that you can do that. I'm not a special human. I'm not a Superman, and I grew up in some small place, and I did it. And I'm not saying that to kind of look like I'm cool and all this stuff. I'm just saying that to prove to you that you can do that. You just need to start with believing in yourself, and then find the right strategy. And the right strategy, you will find that if you will learn from something that really got to that place. And don't listen to your uncle or your dad or your brother that none of them have been in the special forces, and they will tell you, no, the chances are low, and how you do that? No, people training 10 years for that. So put that bullshit beside, and just understand that if you have a goal, just do the best what you can to achieve that goal, and start taking some action, and less speaking and more doing.
Yeah.
So this is my main message. I believe that you can do that. Just believe in yourself and shake your ass, and that's it.
I think that's a really nice point. I think it really ties in with what you said in the beginning, with the fact that it all starts with belief. The second you see yourself in this kind of unit,
Yeah.
you'll be able to get there. But if you're with the belief of, oh no, what are the chances that I can get in there?
Yeah.
I don't stand a chance.
You're not going to train hard.
You're not going to train
No
hard
way.
enough. Perfect. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Looking Looking forward to having you on again.
Cool, me too.